So, you know that really weird scene towards the end of the 3.0 Amphoreus story quest where we confront Oronyx and Mem is there, and then they start talking about some mysterious mother figure? Well, if you were there for my stream, you already know exactly who I think this is.
Mother.
Mother?
Mother.
Oh, March. March created the Titans. Yeah, so why was I confident about this take? I wanted to make a hopefully not too long video going over the details and explaining my reasoning for this theory, and yes, it is a theory. Nothing is canon until it is confirmed, especially this early into the Amphoreus story, but I think this time I will be very surprised if I'm wrong. To begin with the March's mother theory, I need to introduce Elysia. She's the 13th Flame Chaser from Honkai Impact 3rd, and if you're totally unfamiliar with her, she can be described in a few ways. She's obsessed with cute things, she has pink hair and a bubbly personality, and her weapon is a giant bow where she shoots ice magic. Sound familiar? Yeah, March always had very strong Elysia vibes to her, but now we also have the mysterious girl Cyrene and also Mem to tie things together. And the Mem link is actually pretty obvious when you consider that March is literally obsessed with the rabbits and rodents, and her own ultimate summons a swarm of ice bunnies. Do you remember the part of the story where Sunday and Fugwe were both mentally split into multiple people and ultimately had to combine their different selves to be a cohesive entity again? Yeah, this is basically what I'm saying is going to happen to March with Cyrene and probably Mem. See, yes, the Sunday and Fugwe plot occurred inside the Memoria dreamscape, thus naturally some surrealism is to be expected. But it's important to recognize that Memoria is just liquid memories, and it's the same thing as the Fully Ice on Amphoreus, just not frozen. And also the Nihility and the underground river on Amphoreus is the same memory material, and yeah, that's important for the overarching plot too. Because we already know from the Immortal King Mika's readable that there's a kingdom avoiding Thanatos and cheating their preordained deaths by sacrificing half of their souls to the River of Souls, the river Styx. This King Mikas is probably the same king mentioned in the Poet of Morning Collapse relic set, which describes a princess who was eaten by an evil dragon, but an alchemist used the power of gold to subjugate the dragon, and then resurrect the princess using the dragon's flesh. But you can't cheat death like that, so the princess was corrupted and ate everyone as a dragon. I think the connections are pretty obvious, but I think this dragon princess is probably Castros' origin story and the half of her soul that she gave up to the river with her memories and is now searching for is actually the draconic half you see in her splash art. Bit of a crack theory, but maybe she, as the princess within the dragon, is responsible for splitting the souls of the Undying Kingdom, and this is to deceive Thanatos or something. Tribi is also basically confirmed to be one person split into many people, and Aglaia is implied to be sacrificing part of her soul to create each of the garment makers, hence her losing her personality over time, just like the Fugwe split. Basically, the whole soul split theme is very strong in Amphoreus, and that's why I'm super confident that Cyrene is March, is Mem, and they're all fragments of the same girl. Now, wrapping back to Mother, as I said on the stream, Oronyx was triggered by the frankly forced use of March's camera on Oronyx. This whole conversation was a lot of gaslighting, basically, trying to tell us that Mem was a product of the gaze of Fuli, but actually, Mem has been there since the very start of Amphoreus, and it was Mem evoking Trailblazer's memories that drew Fuli's interest. The story really tries to redirect you, but if you've paid any attention, none of this makes sense because it's all just a very obvious red herring, so some people can be surprised later on. But if this whole scene is nonsense, then what is the truth? Well, it's been made pretty clear in readables that Tribi, the first of the Chrysos heirs, and the entire prophecy is basically one big lie, just like how they gaslight the civilians into believing there's nothing beyond the sky because they don't want them to die to Aquila. The prophecy lie will undoubtedly be made clear in the Anaxagoras story, for the reasons outlined in my trailer breakdown, but there's another lie mentioned in a readable book called Anecdotes of a Numerophile about a mysteriously unmentioned 13th Titan. Now, the reasoning given in this readable is that they've recognized numerical patterns in their world, and thus they believe the world is controlled by an unspeakable higher being, a machine with divinity that manipulates with abstract numbers. It's blasphemous to speak of this, but they call this entity the 13th Titan, and of course, it sounds a lot like Nous. But if you're familiar with Honkai Impact 3rd, you'd know that the story inspiring Amphoreus with the Flame Chasers occurs within the Elysian realm, which is a digital simulation created from the memories of the previous era's Flame Chasers. And this Elysian realm is, obviously given the name, introduced to us through the character of Elysia, so March and Cyrene. Elysia was Kevin's second, just as Cyrene is part of Phaenon's backstory. Elysia, as Amphoreus' missing 13th Flame Chaser and the host of the Elysian Realm memory simulation, explains the numerical patterns recognized by the numerophiles who credited them to a higher Nous-like power. It's probably just the computer used by Mother to create Amphoreus, with or without Nous' involvement, but Nous does have a Greco-Roman inspired appearance. This is all even more obvious when you realize Nous works through the power of extrapolating data, which is also exactly how Oronyx's time rewind stuff and Yanis's prophecy stuff happens. It's not actual time manipulation, it's just extrapolations in the simulation to the best of the Titan's power. Sort of like simulated universe, extrapolating the past events. This is explained in the world in Oronyx's eyes. Now, alongside Mother, there was also mentions of a father, which has been established as Kefali the World-Bearer, but at the same time it shows Fuli, suggesting a narrative link. This is tentative, but if you've watched my previous Amphoreus video, I explained in detail how Fuli is probably responsible for saving Amphoreus during their ascension in the Swarm Disaster storyline. Again, tentative, but it's probably the case that the original Kefali might have ascended as Fuli. Thus, technically, both of them are father, and it explains March's connections to both Beauty, which should be her true path, and Fuli, likely a close personal friend of hers. Speaking of the Swarm Disaster and the Beauty and alchemy and dragons, this is way too long for this short video, but if you want to learn how the Swarm Disaster is actually alchemized souls of Beauty followers during Enna's reign, you should check out this video I made a while ago. Alchemy is very important, not just to Amphoreus, but all of Hoyoverse's lore, so I consider this video a must-watch if you're not an expert on that sort of thing. It serves as a bit of a advanced beginner's guide, if that makes sense. If you're not convinced, here's the Cosmic Beauty Bugs showing a picture of a pink-haired girl with worm hair to persuade you. And also, Aglaia collects butterflies and coleopteras, which are literally souls, the same as the swarm bugs. It could not be more obvious. I beg you to watch this. I'm not summarizing it. It's already as short as it can be. And if somehow you're still not convinced, remember when the swarm attacked us? Remember who was depicted as a bug? March. Aglaia and Kafka are very similar with their strings and their mind control and their fashion, and both of them are associated with bugs. Please, Hoyo has been hinting at this plot point forever. Fun fact, but speculating about Kafka's association to Tazeronth was actually what inspired me to make this channel in the beginning. Anyway, I heard some people reasoning that Oronyx wouldn't recognize March's camera because she got it after she came out of the ice, but honestly, we don't know where she got it as far as I know, and even still it is March's most treasured belonging and could simply be covered in her icy essence or whatever. Hell, she could have made it herself based on Amphoreus' tech, since Castris points out the similarities in the inner workings. She holds onto it all the time, just in case someone seals her in ice again, and honestly, that alone is a suspicious detail. But there's also these trailer scenes which seem to imply the same thing. My guess at this point is that her camera is made of her ice, because it has this snowflake symbol on it, and it turns into ice in this trailer, so that could be how she got it. I swear the rosy celestial maiden gag is foreshadowing that March is their goddess. It just makes too much sense. By the way, it is taking everything in me not to go on a rant about how the Honkai Impact 3rd supercomputer made during the original Flame Chaser story was called Prometheus, aka the flame bringer of humanity inspired Amphoreus' flame worship stuff, and also it's a Bronya expy, and the original Bronya is the Hersher of reason and truth of humanity, aka Veritas Ratio, aka the expy of the origin Hersher, aka the guy covered in all the same aesthetic vibes as Amphoreus. I absolutely refuse to believe he's not involved here. I will literally fall to my knees knees if he's never brought up, especially when they're moving the gosh darned divergent universe to Amphoreus soon. Plus, we know Ratio was probably around for the OG Swarm disaster since it was only a little earlier than Golden Gears, which would put him in a relative age range to be involved in the OG Amphoreus story. I swear, I'm not crazy, okay? Okay. Watch my Eon Ratio video after you watch the one about beauty, trust me. Anyways, I'm thinking I want to incorporate some green screen camera work into the videos, but my current streaming webcam is kind of bad and low resolution, so I'd need a new one. But I'm also really poor, so if seeing me talking in the video sounds fun and you have spare dollars, I'd love some donations through my Ko-fi so I can start saving for this upgrade. It'll make my videos way more interesting, I think, so I'd really love to do that if anyone wants to help me. Alright. That's all from me. Please like and subscribe, etc., etc., and catch us next time. Bye!